Okay. Oh, I need a new battery.
Oh, okay. I have some.
Okay.
Oh, I have AAA. This one won't work.
Okay. So if members of council could be seated, I'd appreciate that. We have enough time to receive one individual if anyone wishes to address council in the open forum. Is there anyone that wishes to participate in the open forum?
That one doesn't work. Get two more, so start We'll just have to be patient this evening as well. It's Linda's first council meeting, putting the motions up, so she's a little bit stressed about it, so which I think she'll be fine with. It's just posting the motions and the vote.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening and welcome to the council meeting of December 5th. All members of council are in attendance. Mayor Van Bynen is presiding.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. There are no matters of public notice. There are some additions and corrections to the agenda. Perhaps, Mr. CAO, if you could outline those items.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The items that are addition to the agenda consist of item 1 under presentations, and it's the addition of Mr. Clarence Robinson, the House League alternate number 1, and Mr. Mike McWilliams, equipment manager, in attendance for the proclamation presentation to the Newmarket Minor Hockey Executive. The next item is a deputation for Mr. Gordon Prentice, Mr. Gerald Fox on behalf of the Newmarket branch of the Architectural Conservancy of Ontario to address Council regarding item 26 from the Committee of the Whole minutes of November 28th, 2016, respecting Main Street Clock Inc. From the agenda, item number 9 is being removed, which deals with the solid waste and recycling contract, and it is being added as, I believe, item 24, and it was referred from Committee of the Whole this afternoon directly to Council. And then, in addition, we're adding the ratification of the actions of the Special Committee of the Whole this morning, which dealt with the 2017 draft preliminary budget. So that was this morning at 10 o'clock. So those are the additional items, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have a motion, please, to add these items to the agenda? Councillor Twinney, Councillor Kerwin. All those in favor? Thank you. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Councillor Hempin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be declaring a conflict on addendum item number 22, which relates to a presentation or a deputation. This relates to the clock tower, and I have a business less than a block away from it. And as I have in the past, I'll be not participating in this discussion. Thank you.
So in addition to this, the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, items number 25 and 26 are on the same matter.
Yes, all items that relate to the clock tower. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other declarations? Okay, well, what we're celebrating today is we do have someone, a group of people in the audience, and that group of people is are not strangers to the municipality, and they're here to receive a proclamation that members of council have individually signed to commemorate the 60 years that the Newmarket Minor Hockey Association has served our community. And the proclamation reads, whereas for 60 years, children in the town of Newmarket have been learning and playing the game of hockey. And whereas the sport of hockey has grown significantly over these 60 years in our town. And whereas the game of hockey promotes sportsmanship, teamwork, healthy lifestyle, and also develops players at all levels of the game. And that the achievements of the players and the teams is attributable to the coaches, volunteers, referees, and the Newmarket Minor Hockey Executive over the past 60 years. And further, that the residents and the businesses in the town of Newmarket are encouraged to continue to support the Newmarket Minor Hockey Association, and that the Newmarket Minor Hockey Association be officially recognized for its significant contributions to youth in our community. Let's celebrate. And therefore, be it proclaimed that the year 2016 be officially recognized as the year of Newmarket Minor Hockey in the town of Newmarket, and that's signed by each and every member of this council. So if the representatives for Newmarket Minor Hockey could come forward, we'll make this presentation to you. Sorry?
Are we also move? I'll move it.
Sure. Let's move that and a seconder. Councillor Twinney, all those in favor? And we'll vote on that when we get back.
Can I say something quickly?
Sure. Do you want to do that before or after?
Yeah.
As the mover, go
I can
ahead.
be very quick, but I just want to say this is exciting to have everybody here and recognize this year. And as council, we know how much that you've done for this community this year and for 60 years to keep the kids busy and active. And I can say that probably about 45 years ago, I was in the Newmarket Minor Hockey Association, and for about 10 years, my dad coached me each of those years, and they were incredible years, and I know how much fun my son's having now in the Newmarket Minor Hockey Association. So for me as a kid, my son as a kid, thanks for everything you guys do every year.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of council? Okay. All right, let's make the presentation, if you'll join me, council. Come on into the center here. The president. So just right over center ice, okay? So that's right.
Not in front
There
of
we
my
go.
face. I can't see anything. No, not
Here we are.
good.
We've almost got a team right here. Great. There you go.
I understand after this it's free ice.
We'll talk. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thanks, man. Thank you. Oh.
Good for you, Tom. Good to
Thank
see
you.
you again.
Good. Yep. There you go.
Ward 4.
It's in the bag.
In the bag.
Good.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job over the years.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
First item then is deputations. Our first deputation is Ms. Erin Sorenzia with the Newmarket Historical Society to address council with a PowerPoint presentation entitled Out of the Trenches. Erin?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We permit up to 5 minutes.
I'll speak very quickly. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. My name is Erin Sorenzia, and it is my pleasure to join all of you this evening as Vice President of the Newmarket Historical Society and Chair of the First World War Centennial Committee. Our committee members are all sitting in that row back there. I'll give you a little wave. And we are here to present a special report now that we are officially out of the trenches. Our interactive trench exhibit was envisioned 3 years ago by a group of volunteers who were committed to commemorating the centenary of the First World War. Our vision was to create an interactive exhibit to bring history out of the textbooks and make it come alive for Newmarket residents. And what better way to do that than by building a replica trench for people to actually walk through. We approached the town for support and were very lucky to receive a commitment of an annual monetary donation as well as a gift-in-kind sponsorship for the duration of our project. On behalf of our committee, we would like to thank council, thank each and every one of you for this generous support and for your continued dedication to arts and culture in our community. Newmarket is a community built by volunteers, a spirit of generosity that was evident throughout the First World War and continues to this day. I am very proud to share that our entire committee and board of directors at the Newmarket Historical Society are made up of just that, volunteers. The willingness of our team to step up and get involved in a project of such magnitude was something that should make us all proud. Collectively, we donated hundreds and hundreds of hours towards this project, especially our master architect, Mr. Doug Scott. We revealed the exhibit to our sponsors on November 4th and opened to the public on November 5th, and I'm very excited to share that the community response was incredibly, overwhelmingly positive. Close to 2,000 visitors came through the exhibit in its 2-week span. Our patrons ranged from families with infants as young as being in a stroller young children from scouting groups who were there visiting or from their elementary schools, high school students who are currently studying the First World War and had never learned about Newmarket on such an in-depth level, and even some students who are traveling to Vimy Ridge this coming year. We also, of course, had adult and senior patrons, and all of these patrons were not exclusively members of the Newmarket Historical Society. Our community was very well represented, and patrons also came from outside of Newmarket, from Aurora, King, Barrie, Innisfil, and even Toronto, after seeing coverage of our exhibit on CTV News. Visitors who came through also made donations, and we collected close to $2,000. That stat on the screen in front of you is actually even outdated because it's from last week, so it's actually over $1,900 in donations that we collected, all of which will go back into the committee's planning for next year's initiatives. The exhibit also brought with it some amazing historical discoveries. For example, Francis Elphinstone came in and actually looked at our photo of the 127th Battalion, the large panoramic that we had, and was able to identify his father, who was 16 years old at the time the photo was taken. He brought some incredible artifacts which he donated to the Historical Society, including a large felt crest that was actually a crest representing that battalion that we'd never seen before. We also had a patron come in, again looking at our large panoramic photo of the 127th Battalion, and identify one of their family members, a soldier who had previously been unknown to all of us at the Newmarket Historical Society, whose name we now have. In addition, and probably the best historical discoveries that were made, were simply the artifacts sharing, the family stories that came forward, and the general request for further research. Clearly, there is an appetite for history in our community. I would like to take time in front of Council to once again acknowledge and thank those town employees who helped make this exhibit such a success, specifically the facilities team at the Old Town Hall, led by Scott, Dan, and Alex. These gents went above and beyond every single day in whatever way we needed to make sure that our exhibit was a success, and I think it's really important that all of you know they represent the town, they represent all of you in such a wonderful way, and they're so deserving of our recognition. I would also like to acknowledge the Recreation and Culture staff, of course led by Ian McDougall and Colin Service, but specifically at the ground level through Rob Wilson and Janice Luttrell, who were with us again every step of the way in making our exhibit come to life. And lastly, very quickly, what's coming up next in 2017 for our committee. The trench is currently being temporarily stored at the Newmarket Legion. In the new year, we will begin planning for our 2017 Vimy Ridge commemorative event. And we've also received many requests for residents to bring back the trench and hope that we can count on the support of the town once again to make that happen. So finally, and once again, from our entire team, we thank all of you. Thank you to council, thank you to staff, and thank you to the town of Newmarket for supporting our interactive trench exhibit. We wish you all the best over the holiday season and look forward to seeing you in the new year.
Thank you. Questions and comments? Regional Councillor.
Thanks for the great presentation, Aaron. You always do a very good presentation, and thank you to you and the Historical Society for what was an amazing exhibit. I mean, it was you know, absolutely first-class, professional, and incredibly informative. And I think everybody who visited got a lot out of it. And as you said, you had 1,843 people who go through, and you said they weren't all members of the Historical Society. All I could think was that I bet you wish they were all members of the Historical Society.
Yes, that would be lovely.
But the one thing I was wondering is when you say about bringing it back, were you thinking about the old town hall, or you're still thinking about what you might do? And the reason I raised that is because I was going to ask if you'd considered taking it to perhaps what could even be a wider audience or a new audience, because people that come there are sort of destination bound and coming to see it, and whether we could as a town examine the possibilities of seeing it for the, I guess what would be the week of April 5th to 12th, I guess would be the Vimy week that would be celebrated, is whether it could be located at the Magna Center, or whether we could work with you or assist you to see if the mall would consider having it there. And you know, I think, you know, then you'd be into, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of people who might be able to then
Yeah, that would
witness
be
it.
absolutely wonderful, and we would accept any help and support that you could, you know, lend to us to make that happen. And the beauty of how the actual trench was constructed, again by our architect Doug, is that it's all built in modular pieces. So it was built to fit the space of the Old Town Hall, but it can be taken apart and reassembled, and even have pieces added onto it to have it fit any space.
Okay, well, great. So, I mean, you could let, as a group, when you get a chance to talk more about it, but let us know through staff and whether it's, what other options you might want to look at. I don't know what we can do, but we can certainly explore the options along with you. And again, thank you and congratulations on an amazing exhibit.
Thank you. Councillor Quapis.
First of all, wanted to thank you for the presentation, and I feel very proud that I am part of the society. I'm also I feel very fortunate that I was able to man and the trench a few times, and the feedback that I received just echoes exactly what you brought forward. I do want to let you know that I look forward to whatever you come up with for next year, and I'm pretty sure that the council will support your ideas, because this was an incredible success. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Councillor Kerwin.
Well, Aaron, you truly are an amazing person, and I'm delighted to sit on the board as one of your directors, as representative from the town. And I see in the audience Jackie Plater and Bob Buchan. It's rare to see you without your World War I uniform on. And Chris Morris and Judy Perry. But what you have totally done, and it was really stressful for 3 years, and you often wondered whether you'd be successful or you wouldn't, and now you have this colossal success. But what you have done is you absolutely revived the Historical Society. Our memberships have grown. This year when we had our potluck historical dinner, we had more people in attendance than ever. So on behalf of the town and its residents, thank you for taking the initiative, and all your committee. It was just a fantastic achievement, and thanks for presenting tonight, because you know, this goes out and we just get bigger and better.
Thank you. So it was a very interesting display, and it captured the imagination of many people. When we went through, we saw how people learned about the circumstances that our soldiers went through in the war, and I think it was very, very informative. Looking forward to the opportunity of doing that again, particularly next year, and hopefully we'll be able to find something that complements and maybe takes us to greater heights. So thank you very much to you and your volunteers for what you've done. We appreciate that, and it was a great project. Can I have a motion to receive the deputation, please? Councillor Kerwin, Councillor Vague, all those in favour?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that is carried. Great. Our next deputation is Mr. John Dawson with the Very Useful Theatre Company. Mr. Dawson?
Is the mic on?
No, the mic's on. You can just hit the down arrow to go to the next page.
Oh, there's no other pages, that's it.
You're all set.
Yeah.
Permit up to 5 minutes. You're not going to do the
Yes, thank
entire
you.
carol, John?
Thank you. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. I have an important announcement from Mr. Mayor, Regional Councillor, members of council, staff, and fellow citizens. Charles Dickens' classic A Christmas Carol was written in 1843, a time of notorious poverty known as the Hungry 40s. When the shackled Marley admonishes his longtime business partner Ebenezer Scrooge that mankind is our business, his cries are not confined to any one person or any one era. With the cost of living constantly going up, I'm before you tonight to urge you to let the moths out. Open your wallets to a great cause, helping the Newmarket Food Pantry, which is seeing more and more clients every week. Yes, you can sit in these hallowed chambers making frugal decisions to save taxpayers' dollars, and making some very tough decisions, such as the clock tower development, as it's been dubbed. But for a mere $20 or $15 for seniors like Councillor Dave Kerwin, you can come out and enjoy a dramatic reading of A Christmas Carol with music by the famed writer Charles Dickens. It's being produced by the extremely active, Very Useful Theatre Company on Sunday, December the 11th at 7 p.m., well before your sanctimonious bedtimes, at none other than the New Hope Methodist Church on Queen Street in Newmarket. It would be absolutely wonderful to see a full contingent of council on hand, not only to support the Newmarket Food Pantry, but to support and hear the final dramatic reader, your Ward 7 councillor, the very excellent Christina Bazance. This is the second year the Very Useful Theatre Company has hosted a Christmas carol. After a hiatus of a number of years, everyone agrees that this special evening puts everyone in the Christmas spirit. Yes, even the hardest and toughest councillor, regional councillor, and mayor of this fine town. As Christine Bazance already has her ticket, I have with me tonight 7 tickets for this magical performance, which also features 2 prominent politicians who have agreed to offer up their time from their busy schedules. They are our MPP, the Honourable Chris Ballard, our Member of Parliament, Kyle Peterson, with that marvelous actor, Phil Dion, and the melodious pastor of the New Hope Methodist Church, Terry Gibson. The performance features ancient and modern Christmas song carols sung by the spectacular, internationally trained operatic and musical theater soprano, Newmarket's own Irene Illick, and 4 brilliant students from the Irene Illick Singer Studio. I will leave these 7 sacred tickets with the town clerk and pick up the proceeds tomorrow when I come in to pay my hefty property taxes. It behooves you as Newmarket forefathers and mothers to set the tone and buy a ticket to this very worthy cause. Food pantries have become a necessary evil in every community, but for those in need, it's a lifesaver and a godsend. And it's our mission to hold benefits for such a needy cause. And, dear Newmarket councillors, you can help make this Christmas special for a lot of needy people by buying a ticket and showing your support. Not only that, it may just actually warm your hearts, just a little, mind you, by attending and getting into a much lighter seasonal spirit. As you can always send me a lump of coal as my next tax bill and say, bah, humbug, the choice is always yours. This is a magical evening not to be missed, and I invite members of the audience, the viewers, to join the members of the Newmarket Council and staff at this wonderful start to the Christmas season. And as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councillor Bazance, and then Regional Councillor.
Yes, I just want to thank the Very Useful Theatre Company for having enough faith in me to ask me back for an encore presentation, because I can tell you it's not easy to speak Dickensian English. And it's certainly a wonderful initiative, and I'm really glad that we'll be supporting the Newmarket Food Pantry this year. I've also learned a little bit about the Very Useful Theatre Company through my participation, and this is an organization that gets together and raises funds for important organizations in our community, but is also out there trying to raise funds and raise profile of theater and theater productions in our town. So I think I want to thank you and the other members of the company for what you do, and hope to see everybody on the 11th. It'll be fun, and I'm looking forward to a reprise of that role.
Thank you. Regional Councillor?
Also to say, John, is that I'm not sure how much this poster has been up on the screen, so from a sales perspective, you might want to close with reminding the viewers how to get tickets.
Oh, they can go on the website, www.vutc.ca, and click on the link, or they can call 905-836-5464. It's a different number. And you can also email vutc@rogers.com. Thanks, John.
Perfect.
And you have your tickets.
Thank you. Thank you. I see last year Mayor Dawn and myself participated with Councillor Bazance, and I see that you've kicked it up a notch and only invited Councillor Bazance back. So it's good judgment on your part. It was great fun, and it's a good undertaking, and you've selected all the right talent. So I wish you all the best.
We appreciate your participation last year, and the other mayors as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We invite our residents to participate if they can. A motion to receive the presentation, Councillor Bazance and Councillor Broom. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Our next deputation is Mr. Gordon Prentice. Mr. Prentice? This is relative to Clock Tower Inn. We permit up to 5 minutes. Oh.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Gordon Prentice, President of the Architectural Conservancy of Ontario Newmarket Branch. Here is my friend, Gerald Fox. And if we have any difficult questions on the floor space index, my other friend, Siegfried Wohl, will answer them. First of all, I want to thank all the councillors here for the decision that they took on the clock tower on the 28th. It was a terrific decision. It was the right decision. It was a decision that made lots of people very, very happy indeed. So thank you very much. If it had gone the other way and you had accepted the recommendations in front of you, you would have been voting for a building of the highest density in the entire town, a building whose density would be greater than any structure on the two corridors, Yonge and Davis, now or in the future. Even at the intersection of Yonge and Davis, the clock tower would have had a higher density than those structures. And this was never put before you in a simple, straightforward way. This whole issue of the floor space index, that we lay people like myself could see the structure and we could say, it just doesn't look right. It is too big. But if anyone had said to you, the professional planners and the advisors had said to you, that what you're being asked to vote on is specifically outlawed in your own plans, you would have been shocked. We brought the deputation today because we didn't know if Robert Forrest would be coming back to have another go at you. We all read Robert Forrest's letter of the 28th of November, and I found it tendentious, I found it argumentative, and I thought it was misleading as well. If I'm blunt, it was misleading. And I don't know where it goes from here. I don't know what Mr. Forrest's intentions are, but I know most of us want to turn a new page on this. We've been living with the clock tower for 4 or 5 years, and we want good ideas for doing something to bring life back to the main street. Now, I don't know if you want to say anything, Gerald, but we are very happy to take any questions on the issues raised in my letter or the technical stuff, which Siegfried will talk about. So we're in your hands, Mr. Mayor, if you want to ask anything.
Any members of council wish to? We will be addressing the clock tower later in the agenda, but prior to that, we will also be seeking some legal advice in a closed session. So our normal practice would be to bring the issue forward, but we won't be able to do so tonight because we do want to get some additional legal advice. So if you wish to stay until after the closed session, then we'll bring that matter forward. But there being no additional questions then, a motion to receive the deputation. Councillor Kluppies, Councillor Bazance, all those in favor? That is.
Can we go?
Yes, thank you. Okay. Councillor Bazance? Good. Thank you. That is carried. Our next item then is the approval of council minutes of November the 14th. I have a motion with Councillor Kerwin, seconded by Councillor Hempin. Any corrections? This is council minutes of November the 14th.
One moment, please. Oh, no.
Okay. So it's moved and seconded. All those in favor? Okay, if we could, yeah, we need to open Councillor Hempin's monitor, but we'll record that vote as in favor. Thank you. Reports by regional councillors. Regional councillor.
Thanks very much. We're, as members of council may or may not know, and members of the public, this month that the region is dedicated entirely to the budgeting process. We've been through one half of that at committee level, at least. The other half is coming up this week. And then, of course, like here, it'll be ratified at council. Just to give a sense of where things are at, the budget provides York Region's operating budget for 2017 and updates the outlook for 2018. It includes a 10-year capital plan as well, going out to 2026. So it sets out the expected spending on operations for 2017 of $2.096 million, or sorry, 2,096 million, so $2 billion essentially for operations, and another 942, or almost $1 billion in capital. Also, the budget includes proposed tax levy increases for 2017 of 2.87 and for 2018 of 2.65. The increase for this year is slightly higher than was projected in the past, and that is due to the police services asking for an increase slightly higher than they had been projecting. That is yet to be dealt with at council and debate or discussion. But that's essentially where we're at in process, and some of the numbers related to the budget on a very large scale. And if anybody on council is interested, I have the full budget book in my office, as I'm sure the mayor does as well, and we'll be going through that for the rest of this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item then is the reports of committees and council. First item is the council workshop of November the 14th, and that was our initial workshop relative to the budget. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes, please? Councillor Twinney, Councillor Broom. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Next item then is the council's workshop of November the 21st, and that was relative to our asset management program and our long-term financial sustainability. Could I have a motion, please, to approve those minutes? Councillor Bizance, Councillor Poppies? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Third item, the next item is the Committee of the Whole of Council, November 28th. And that was, sorry, November 21st. Good catch, thank you. And that was the Davis Drive parking, and that was a public hearing. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes, please? Councillor Hempin, Councillor Quapis. All those in favor? And that is carried. Next item is the Committee of the Whole minutes of November the 28th. Are there any items to be dealt with separately? We will be dealing with items number 26 through to 50 separately because of a declaration, and that relates to the clock tower. Are there any other items that members wish to deal with separately?
You mentioned item number 50 will be dealt with separately.
Item number, yes, item number 26 right through to item number 50. Item number 50 is the final report. That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. Could I have a motion then to approve all items with the exceptions of items number 26 to 50? Councillor Quapis? Councillor Vague? All those in favor? And that is carried. Item number 26 to 50, I would ask that we stand that down. I do have a request to have a closed session that would involve solicitor-client advice with respect to this item. And so what we'll do is hold items 26 to 50 until after we've had our closed session. Okay? Next item then is the ratification of the special council meeting, or committee of the whole meeting that we had today relative to budget. And I'm only asking that we ratify the actions, and the actions were to submit or to circulate the preliminary draft budget as we had amended. Could I have a motion to that respect? With that, Councillor Vague, Councillor Kerwin? Okay. This is a new one on the system, so it's going to take a little while to get up on the screen, but okay, and that is carried. Next item then is to ratify the actions of our special committee of the whole regarding waste management this afternoon. And the actions that were recommended at that time was that the report be referred to council, and we'll be dealing with that as item number 24 on council's agenda. Could I have a motion to ratify that action, please? Councillor Twinney, Councillor Hempin. All those in favor? Yeah, we have to input it. Yeah. Really putting her to the test for the first night. Yeah. Yeah. We're patient. We're just ratifying the action only, right? And the action that we're ratifying is to refer that to council. So. All right, all those in favor? And that matter will be dealt with under item number 24. We also had a closed session where council received some legal advice that's subject to solicitor-client privilege. So we'll also have some further advice later on this evening in the closed session. And that was relative to the contract that we're referring. Okay. Next item then is bylaws. Bylaws number 2016-61 to 2016-70. Madam Clerk, if you could give us the recitals, please.
Bylaw 2016-61. Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Bylaw 2016-61 is a bylaw to provide for the conveyance of land and cash in lieu, thereof for park and other purposes, and that's to accommodate some housekeeping amendments. 2016-62 is a bylaw to adopt amendment number 14 to the Town of Newmarket official plan related to 1166 and 1186 Nicholson Road. Bylaw 2016-63 is a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2010-40 as amended, being a zoning bylaw for 281 Main Street North. Bylaw 2016-64 is a bylaw to adopt fees and charges for all departments, and those are general fees. Bylaw 2016-65 is a bylaw to adopt fees and charges for planning department application fees. Bylaw 2016-66 is a bylaw to adopt fees and charges for fire services. Bylaw 2016-67 is a bylaw to adopt a stormwater management services charge by the town. Bylaw 2016-68 is a bylaw to establish a combined utility rate structure, specifically water and wastewater rates. Bylaw 2016-69 is a bylaw to establish a stormwater rate for the town of Newmarket. And bylaw 2016-70 is a bylaw to appoint fire prevention officers for Central York Fire Services.
Does any member of council wish any of these bylaws to be dealt with separately? So we have a mover and a seconder. Could I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Hempel, Councillor Bezants. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Are there any notices of motion? Are there any motions? Announcements and community events. We'll start. Sorry.
We're going to do all that even before the rest of the agenda?
Before we go to the closed session? Okay. I think that's been our practice. Okay. Announcements and community events. We'll start with Councillor Quapis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Winter Wonderland, our most beautiful light display at Newmarket Riverwalk Commons. It is on nightly until January 8th. Enjoy free skating on the Tim Hortons skating and water feature, train rides on the Tim Hortons Express train, or catch a hockey game on the outdoor TV at the beautiful Newmarket Ice Lounge.
Stapled you together. That's it. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Broom.
Thank you. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in cooperation with the town of Newmarket, presents the annual Christmas Pageant, A Journey to Bethlehem at Fairy Lake Park. Shows are December 21st to December 23rd at 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. and December 24th at 7 p.m. This event features a live cast of real animals. Please dress warmly and allow for a 20-minute walk. Admission is free.
Thank you. Councillor Bezant.
Come and celebrate New Year's Eve at our 12th annual Tim Hortons First Night Newmarket on December 31st from 6 to 9 p.m. And it's at a new location this year, the Riverwalk Commons. This free event features live outdoor and indoor entertainment, complimentary outdoor skating, and culminates with a grand finale of fireworks display at 9 p.m. The event is presented in partnership with Tim Hortons.
Thank you. Councillor Twinney.
A public information center is being held.
Nope. Yeah.
A public information center is being held tomorrow, Tuesday, December 6th, to discuss the potential regulation of driving school instructors. Anyone can drop in anytime between 7 and 9 in the council chambers here at the municipal offices at 395 New Lock Drive. The purpose of this proposed regulation is to decrease traffic on our residential streets that are being used for driving tests. Town staff will be present to discuss the proposed regulation with residents, and there will be an opportunity to fill out a feedback form and provide written comments. For further information, call 905-895-5193 or download an information package online at newmarket.ca/driving schools. The deadline for comments on this is December 20th, 2016, and I know that myself and Councillor Kerwin will be there, as well as probably other members of staff of our council as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerwin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two. The Battle of York Pink in the Rink benefit game takes place Thursday, December the 22nd at 7:30 p.m. at the Ray Twinney Rec Complex, 100 Eagle Street West. The Newmarket Hurricanes take on the Aurora Tigers. Buy your tickets online at newmarkethurricanes.com or at the rink on game time. All proceeds go to South Lakes Stronach Regional Cancer Center, and I must say we have really a good local team. The Hurricanes, I was there Thursday night to watch them play the Coburg Cougars, and it really was exciting hockey. Good passing, really a clean game, and a good crowd. So get out there and support this. Another item that my wife has been working on, and we've just about become successful. Wouldn't it be grand? Wouldn't it be grand if the newly refurbished Old Town Hall had a brand-new grand piano? Any musical concert held there will need one, and space has been allocated for it. What we need are the funds to buy one. Erica Kerwin, a member of Visual and Performing Arts Newmarket and the Newmarket Arts Council, has been authorized by the town to raise funds for a new grand piano for this venue. The aim when we set out was to raise $30,000. I'm proud to say that we just crashed through the $40,000, but we need another $5,000 to purchase a Steinway. So donations of $20 or more will receive receipts for tax purposes. Donations of $250 or more will buy a piano key with the donor's name on it, which will be displayed on a plaque in the Old Town Hall. Checks should be made payable to the Town of Newmarket with clear designation of Old Town Hall Piano Fund. Donations and inquiries should be directed to Erica Kerwin at 317 Maple Street, Ontario, 905-895-8969. And as I say, we hope to have that Steinway in the Old Town Hall before the end of this year, Mr. Mayor. What a success story. On behalf of my wife, I'd like to thank all the residents of Newmarket. And that's what we wanted it to be. We wanted it to be a piano that was funded by all the residents. Some have given $5, $20, $250, and upwards. But when we started off, we thought $30,000 was sort of the upward figure. Then when we went to buy a Steinway, we began to realize that they cost more than that, and they're upwards of $40,000 to over $200,000 and so forth. So we're close to being there. So this is the final push before the end of 2016. And once again, thank you to all our supporters.
And tax receipts would be issued for us as well. Okay. Thank you.
It all goes through the town.
Thank you. Councillor Vague.
Thank you very much. I'd like to remind Ward 1 residents that I have my monthly Community Ward 1 drop-in happening at the Magna Center tomorrow night. That's December 6th. It's on the main floor of the Magna Center from 7 to 9. And this is an opportunity for Ward 1 residents to come by, share their ideas and their suggestions on how to make our town and our community even better. So if you live in Ward 1, please come join me tomorrow evening, Tuesday evening, between 7 and 9 at the Magna Center for the Ward 1 Community Drop-In. Thank you.
Thank you. Regional Councillor.
Thanks very much. So tomorrow, December the 6th, is the Hour of Code. A local business of some fantastic people called Fair Chance Learning is partnering with the town of Newmarket to bring the Hour of Code to Newmarket. So this is be at 1:30 p.m. tomorrow at the municipal offices, and it's a global movement with reaching tens of millions of students in over 180 countries. And the purpose of the Hour of Code is to dispel the myth around coding and to demonstrate that anybody can learn to code. So what better way to try to demonstrate that concept than to have students come here to the town offices and try to teach some of the members of council how to code. Clearly, if that's successful, they've proved their point that anybody can learn to code. Now, having said that, the risk they take is that we bring this global movement to a crashing halt by demonstrating it can't be done. But hopefully we can hold our end up and learn a little bit of coding tomorrow and help promote the field of computer science and coding. So that's at 1:30 p.m. tomorrow at the municipal offices. And I know a few of us at least will be here. And that is the Hour of Code, December the 6th.
Thank you. Councillor Hampton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Newmarket Ice Lounge is back for another winter at Newmarket Riverwalk Commons at 200 Doug Duncan Drive. Open daily, the Ice Lounge is a large outdoor lounge with contemporary furniture and an outdoor television. Come and enjoy the outdoors in style with your friends and family this winter. This free activity is sponsored by J. Miller Real Estate. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone has anything that they wish to discuss with me, I will be at Mayor in the Square in the Newmarket Public Library at 438 Park Avenue on Friday, December the 9th, from 11 a.m. until noon. The Town of Newmarket municipal offices are open until noon on Friday, December the 23rd. The offices will close for the holidays and resume regular business hours on Tuesday, January the 3rd. Please note that during the holidays, the Customer Service Center at 395 Mulock Drive is open from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. on December the 28th, 29th, and the 30th. And customer service is also available at our kiosks in the Magna Center and the Ray 20 Recreation Complex, and the details are on our website at newmarket.ca. As well, please join me and members of council at the Mayor's New Year's Levy on Sunday, January the 8th, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Old Town Hall and the Riverwalk Commons. Enjoy skating, delicious treats, local entertainment, and cultural artists. This is a free, family-friendly event. We hope to see you there to celebrate the new year. And our next council meeting is on Monday, January 23rd at 7 p.m. Are there any matters of new business? Councillor Kerwin?
Oh, just to, as this is our last council meeting, to wish all the residents of Newmarket a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and a Happy Hanukkah. Thank you.
Thank you. Regional Councillor?
Yeah, I'd like to just recognize that this is the last council meeting for Chris Simon, sitting up in the audience there, and thank him for his rigorous and coverage of Newmarket Council over the last number of years, and wish him all the best in the future. I understand your last day is the 19th, so later under new business, I'll be moving a special emergency meeting to council for the 20th. No, I'm just kidding.
Good. Thank you. Any other matters of new business? The next item then is a closed session. I do have a request for a closed session. Firstly, to receive advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, and that is with regard to a multi-year contract for waste collection for the N6, and that's the last item on our agenda for this evening, and also to receive solicitor-client advice with respect to the Clock Tower Inn. Could I have a motion, please, to go into closed session? Regional Councillor, Councillor Kerwin. All those in favor?
Well, I'd like to speak to the motion.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Thanks very much. I just want to be clear that the reason I'm moving and asking to go into camera in relation to the clock tower is that to understand and to get advice from our solicitor in terms of next steps moving forward. We've gone through a lessons learned before related to Glenway, and to ensure that any next step we take, I understand we have to file some documentation if the decisions are ratified, and to understand what those steps are, and that we're thinking of those in terms of potential, and hopefully not real, but in terms of potential OMB challenges, and that we're taking the steps and the necessary steps and the way that we're taking them, so we understand if there is any consideration for those subsequent moves that we'll have to make, and how they could be impacted by future OMB challenges. Thank you.
On a basis consistent with our intent. Right. Okay. Could I have all those in favor then? Given that there's only 9 of us, what we'll do is we'll ask everyone to remain seated, and we'll go over to the Holland River room, because I think A and B and the Mulock room are currently being utilized. So we'll reconvene for a private session in the Holland River room. Okay? And I'll take off my microphone. Clerk. Everybody here? So just as a matter of clarification to our Commissioner Armchuk, process, we should ratify the discussions that we had in camera currently, and that becomes the basis for our discussion going forward. Is that okay? Can I have, Madam Commissioner?
For you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. There are no votes in closed session, so any matter that would be the subject of the vote can be done now.
Okay. So I'll ask to ratify the discussions in the closed session, and that is to receive advice from our solicitors on both matters. Councillor Twinney, Councillor Vague, all those in favor? We'll wait for the... And that is carried. So there are two matters outstanding on tonight's agenda. We'll deal with the first, which is, knowing that we have a declaration with respect to the clock tower, I'll deal with item number 24 first, which is the N6 cooperative contract, multi-year contract for the collection and transportation of garbage. And we have the recommendations before us. Could I have a motion with respect to the recommendations?
I'll move it.
Councillor Hempin, is there a seconder? Councillor Twinney. Speaking to the motion, Councillor Hempin?
No, thank you.
Councillor Twinney is the seconder? Okay. Any further discussions? There being none, all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. The only remaining items then are the Committee of the Whole minutes of November the 28th, items number 26 to 50. And Councillor Hempin has declared with respect to those matters.
Thank you. Good night.
We do have recommendations coming out of the report in the minutes, and that's item number 50. So I'll ask a motion with respect to the recommendations under item number 50, and also to receive the presentations, deputations, and correspondence. Regional Councillor.
Thanks. I'll move receipt of them and the recommendations that are in front of us.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Kerwin. Is there any discussion? Regional Councillor, first as the mover.
Thanks very much. I do have some questions as well for staff, but first I'll just start by saying that, and I won't belabor it, but we've been through this and we've had a large public meeting. I think we've come to a position amongst council that will protect the heritage district and protect this important building, while allowing a small amount of flexibility in order to hopefully encourage at this site some redevelopment in the near future. So I think it's again, I think the provincial policy statement, the regional official plan, the town's official plan, and the Heritage Conservation District plan and bylaw all speak to the importance of protecting our heritage attributes and the view sheds and the various features. And I think that this is a decision that council is demonstrating that we want to support those policies, and we want to protect this downtown area. This is half a street. It's a very relatively small area in the town of Newmarket, and as was stated before, there's ample room throughout the town for intensification and for various types of redevelopment, but that this area should, well, see new life as it constantly does in new businesses, et cetera, that as a built form, it should remain essentially the same, and I think we achieve that. I would like to ask a couple of questions, if I may. The first question I have is I have really two questions, and if they get answered at a later date, or if staff suggests that we refer this to something in the future, I'd like to do that's fine with me. But I guess what I'd really like to raise is that and again, to refer to it, but really having gone through the Glenway experience and the lessons learned experience and trying to always understand and
It only happens when you make an important point.
Yeah.
Someone will be able to get that, I think.
We haven't voted
That's
yet.
good.
A paranoid mind might jump to conclusions.
Okay.
Shall I continue? Yeah. So I'll speak up. I guess the question I really have is two questions, and it speaks to the process and how we'll handle these things in the future. The first one is that I have to admit I was a little confused when I read the staff report that was presented to us, and I saw that our peer review by ERA was subsequently engaged in meetings, or even what could appear to be, and I don't say this in a derogatory manner, could appear to be negotiations with the owner or the proponent and their heritage consultant. And I guess my first question to staff is that common here or other jurisdictions? I know we don't do an enormous amount of work with heritage peer reviews, et cetera, but I guess, and I'm just being really frank and thinking about and wanting to be able to provide direction as council, or have an opportunity in the future to provide direction around this, because I think it's important. And I guess I thought, when I think of peer review, I expected an independent third party from us or from the developer to review all of the material, to review our documentation, what's been submitted, and then provide this objective, independent, and somewhat distant opinion. And when you read the report, it appears that their first position, and I would go as far as, and this is somewhat editorial, but their first position and most comfortable position was 3+1 on Main Street, and that they were okay with altering that later after discussions with the proponent and their heritage consultant. And so I just thought we would get a peer review would be just that. It would be an independent analysis, not based upon conversations and negotiations, but this is what we deem to be appropriate based upon the information provided. So I guess my question to staff would be, and if we're not able to answer at this point, but is that common, or is that something that council could look at? Because for me, that it didn't feel like it fully served the purpose I was hoping it would.
Mr. Neuhammer.
Yes, through Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the question. I think it would be in keeping with the method by which the peer reviewer performed their service for our planning department. We did ask for an independent peer review of the materials submitted with respect to heritage and the Heritage Conservation District. There were admittedly conferences and meetings between the two heritage consultants, and that was for the intention of clarifying each other's position. And in the end, we did get a opinion and report from our own peer reviewer, and that is documented in the report. So I don't think it's uncommon for a peer reviewer to seek clarification from the work that they're being asked to review, and to my knowledge, that's what happened in this case.
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, I would agree with you. I mean, if there's a peer reviewer going about their work, I would assume that they would need to seek clarification at several points in the process, but I would assume that that would be sought through staff. And furthermore, your interpretation, I have to admit, is somewhat different than mine. When I read that report, it very much sounds like, and I don't think I'm stretching at all, I mean, I think they state I think there's one point, I wish I could flip to it quickly, where they say, our position was 4 and 6, I believe, but it was definitely 3+1 on Main Street. And then after, and understanding competing interests, and after discussing things more with their consultant and the proponent, they were able to, support or agree to a different scenario. And so, I don't necessarily want to debate were they just seeking clarification, or was there some sort of negotiation? But I don't see a I guess if staff, and they have traditionally done this, and I think it can be very productive, want to talk with proponents about what could be doable, which is a form of negotiation, I think that can be productive. But I guess for myself, I would like an opportunity in the future. I guess I can bring up a new business, but I wouldn't mind getting a report back on this so we can consider it more fully. But I would like to provide direction that I want to know when I get a peer review that this is our opinion based upon our heritage experience on what this proposal is offering, and not anything more than that. But after discussions, we could maybe, and I feel like, for at least myself, and I can only speak for myself, I think I would have garnered greater value out of that work as being just their independent analysis without interaction, seeking clarification through staff if they needed technical answers or understandings. And I guess I'd be asking staff for some advice on how to look into that further and perhaps clarify that on a go-forward basis.
Mr. Lambert?
Mr. Mayor, that's certainly possible. We can provide, additional information, not only with respect to this application, but also, generally how peer reviewers are used. And I just want to reiterate that, it may be that the peer reviewer had some initial observations or opinions, and with staff present at the meetings between the peer reviewers, sought clarification and then provided us with their final recommendation, which is documented in the report. But certainly we can provide further information on not only that, but also with respect to generally how peer reviewers could be used.
My second question is, did staff consider either instead of or as well as, and I guess ERA was our as of record, but did we consider at one point, at any point, looking for a second opinion or an opinion from George Robb Architects, or GRA, who wrote our Heritage Conservation District plan for Lower Main Street, and who would have an immense understanding of the area, who would have, I would assume, expert-like credentials, to use the phrase that's been used, or expert-like credentials related to heritage conservation and architecture, et cetera. This would seem like a great source for input into what would be or not be appropriate. And again, I guess on a go-forward basis or lessons learned, could it become considered, or as you bring us back information on the first area that I requested, could we look at the possibility of that any future peer review also require an opinion from the author of our Heritage Conservation District plan?
Mr. Newman.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm not able to answer whether or not that was done in this particular case or sought. But it is a suggestion that I'm happy to take back and review with staff. And I agree that the author of the Heritage Conservation District plan would have a good knowledge and base of information upon which to review any application and provide further advice to the town. I think, in this particular case, there was a retained consultant, and we wanted to make sure we got value out of that consultant. But I can take your point back and consider that with staff as well.
My last question would be, and this is, I think, probably the trickiest one, but it seems to me, as I struggled with the process as it was ending, that it seemed to me that that as the staff report gets written, and as they should, they're able to weigh and consider and provide input from our peer reviewer, our Heritage Conservation, our peer reviewer, their peer reviewer, and admittedly they said, they were trying to find something workable for competing interests, but those voices, the public had input and was acknowledged as part of the process. But at the very end, and knowing the weight that staff reports have at OMB hearings, the only body or the only group in this process that staff had essentially no sense of, or very little sense of, or input from, is council. And so I guess I wonder, is there any, is it done differently in any other municipalities in terms of council sort of being, you know, held at a distance from the planning department, making sure, you know, without fear or favor, and all logical things that have been implemented through the years. But is there any other, you know, is it ever that staff or planners would come first to council and say, you know, we're seeking some direction or guidance from you in terms of the upholding or amending your conservation district plan, or you know, I understand it's difficult because the planner's report is supposed to be the professional opinion without fear or favor, but clearly when you read the report, they were open to consideration of all kinds of other influencers, including what appears to be somewhat negotiated result through the developer and the developer's consultants, but council just is not part of that. And it seems odd that the people who are democratically elected to provide guidance and provide a view for the town, or in this case for a conservation district, are the only voice that's really left out until the very end, which in the case, in the world we live in with an OMB, is sometimes too late to be of any meaning. In this case, perhaps not, because of some constraints related to parking, et cetera, but in many cases that would be the case. And so are we aware of any other approach that way, or is council, that's pretty much standard, that council's thoughts or views or opinions would be sort of, you know, held in a locked box apart from the planning process to ensure that they're not influenced?
Mr. Sheldon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My understanding is that the process that we follow is very standard in terms of when council comes into the picture. But that is something that, again, we could report further on. I'm not aware of a process that does have that sort of touching base with council before a professional planner's report is prepared. But as I say, we can look into that, and I'd welcome any comments from the solicitor, or actually our commissioner, or our other commissioner in that regard.
Mr. Neumer?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm of the same opinion that, you know, the professional advice from our planning staff is something that is given careful consideration through the various studies that have been provided as rationale with the application, their own experience and review of other similar circumstances, and they are putting their professional advice forward for consideration by the decision makers as the elected body, being council. You know, that is the value of having professional civil service, which gives, you know, advice to members of council. So as far as I know, that is the municipal process that's adhered to by municipalities in Ontario.
So I'll close here, but through you, Mr. Mayor, I hear what you're saying, and there is great value in having this independent, objective advice that's provided to council to help us with decision making. But there is also, I think, simultaneously something quite odd about virtually everybody in the process having some input or some influence, at least through ideas and sharing concerns, into a planning decision, except for council, the people who are supposed to be, to a degree, doing this. And I think many would say, well, and I've been struggling with this lately because I find it very difficult conundrum. If you think about it, so then well, that makes sense, because everybody provides their input and everybody provides their concerns, and then staff weighs all that and provides a recommendation to us, and we don't involve ourselves with them because we're the final decision maker. But in the world we live in, with an OMB, many ways we're no longer the final decision maker after a staff report is written. We're play a very minor role in the decision at that point, in my humble opinion, compared to the staff report, at least my experience and what I've read about OMB decisions. And so by the time we're able to say this is what we feel, it's almost too late. And so I'm not saying there's necessarily a clear answer to that, and I agree, but probably we don't do it much differently than others, but I'd be curious if anybody's ever tried to wrestle with this issue. And anyway, if we could get information back on that, but in very particular, I would be very interested in the use of George Robb architects, how a peer review typically would engage with or not engage with the proponent and their consultants, and an opportunity for us to provide some policy direction or guidance on that in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I just want to clarify item number 1. It says that the application for zoning bylaw amendment as resubmitted. Does that reference the original application that's submitted by Main Street Clock Inc., or does that reference or does that relate to the recommendations of staff? Staff had different recommendations. When we voted,
Which part?
the item number I.
With, you know, a resubmission of a very original application, but the current application that was before you, as submitted by the applicant, you know, after having been revised and resubmitted by Main Street Clock Inc., was the one that was presented at Committee of the Whole.
Okay, so I was very clear at the Committee of the Whole is that I supported staff's recommendation, but this denial is the denial of the application at a level that is greater than what staff recommended. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that would be my understanding as well, is that staff made a recommendation, and this is an amendment to that recommendation to deny the project or to deny the application.
Okay, and so I'd like to deal with items number I, and I, or at least item 1 separately, because my reason for denying the application is because I supported staff's recommendation. I don't think that the original application itself should be approved. So I can support item number 1, but I can't support items number 2 and 3. And I support item 1 because I support staff's recommendation and not the original application. I just want to be clear about that. Okay? Any further questions on that? So I'll call the question with respect to item number 1 first, and that's the application be denied. I can support that, but I support that for reasons different than why everybody else supported it. Okay, I'll call that question. All those in favor of item number I only. Okay. I'll then call the question on items number 2 and 3 and 4. All those in favor? Opposed? That still carries. This is coming up. It should come up shortly. Okay, that still carries. Okay, and I think that deals with all matters on this evening's agenda. We need a confirmatory bylaw. So moved. Councillor Kerwin, seconded by Councillor Broom. First to speak to the motion, Councillor? Just kidding. We'll wait for this to go. Councillor Broom, Councillor Kloppas. And that carries. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Vague, Councillor Kerwin. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's close to an 11-hour day, I think.